because the Texas House yesterday passed a new congressional map that could give Republicans 5 more seats after next year's midterm elections. Meanwhile, former President Barack Obama shared his support for California's attempt to counter those mid-decade redistricting efforts by Republicans in the Lone Star State. At a fundraising event earlier this week, Obama said he had, quote, tremendous respect for Governor Newsom's proposal to redraw his state's congressional maps in response to the Texas effort. Obama went on to say that Democrats must respond effectively to Republican gerrymandering, even if it means breaking with traditional norms, and that Newsom's plan is a, quote, responsible approach. Yesterday, the California Supreme Court said it wouldn't prevent Democrats from moving forward with a plan to redraw their congressional districts. After last night's vote in Austin, Newsom posted on social media, quote, it's on, Texas. Kevin, the margins are so incredibly tight in the House. That's why these stories matter so much. That plus the fact that the Texas redistricting effort is really only happening because the folks at the White House and in Washington said this would really be good for you to do. So what's the response then from lawmakers, including in the Texas delegation, who were not too fond of this effort either?
Right. I mean, and look, if you consider the fact that the margins in the House are essentially down to if you have like 4 or 5 votes, depending on who is absent and how many slots are empty. And so at the end of the day, this could be the whole ball game, is just this redistricting back and forth. And we seem to be entering and setting up this scenario where we could have really a spiral where various states are now going to basically take and jump at this opportunity, because Republicans are also being leaned on in places like Indiana and Missouri to also take advantage of this opportunity to try to redistrict. And quite frankly, we're seeing this potential of turning into a once in a decade, into every single cycle to try to squeeze out the latest advantage.
Yeah. California is saying that it is a tit for tat for what happened in Texas, but California is also going to be putting it to voters. And I had one California official on with me yesterday saying, well, I think that it's going to work, but if not, we'll know where the voters stand. And that's what's making us different in all of this, that we are asking the voters to decide. And then, of course, the other piece that Texas Republicans keep turning to is everyone gerrymanders. The Republican Party might want some pad in terms of their efforts to keep the House, is A, because the margins are thin, and B, because of the big, beautiful bill that they passed earlier this year, where we've seen Republicans from Wyoming to New York really struggle in defense of that bill. And I actually think our home state of New York does provide an interesting micro look at what this defense looks like, because you've got everyone from Elise Stefanik to Mike Lawler having a tough time with it. I mean, talk about their differing responses.
Advocate. Stefanik was facing booing at an event in her own district. And some of this speaks to kind of her own evolution and also the dynamics of that part of the district. Plattsburgh is perhaps arguably one of the bluer segments of a red district, where she was facing lots of pushback from the public during this public event that she was speaking at. I don't know that I see that as necessarily a response directly to the One Big Beautiful Bill.
What you just watched should make every American shut up. But this is not some boring procedural fight about lines on a map. This is about who controls Congress, who makes your laws, and whether your vote actually counts. Texas Republicans just bulldozed through a redistricting scheme that would give them 5 extra seats, not by winning hearts and minds, but by literally trying democracy to their advantage. And if you caught that part, Donald Trump would have carried 30 out 38 of those districts by double digits under this map. That's not representation, that's manipulation. Now here is where it gets old. Barack Obama himself stepped in and said he backs Governor Gavin Newsom's plan to strike back by redrawing California maps. That's right, Democrats who for years clung to the high road of independent redistricting commissions are now openly saying enough is enough. Hakeem Jeffries even called California's move enlightened translations. They are done fighting with one hand tied behind their back while Republicans smash every norm. But listen carefully, the reporter said it. This is not just Texas and California. Indiana, Missouri, and other states are now being lured on to join in. What we are watching is the death of the once in a decade rule. Gerrymandering is not a special occasion anymore. It's become every cycle, every state, every time. So ask yourself, If the game is rigged this badly before a single vote is cast, what happens in 2024? What happens in 2026? This is not politics as usual. This is the slow destruction of American democracy happening in real time. And the people cheering it on are the very ones who claim to love freedom.